The Phillies, America's most beloved baseball team, at least among the residents of Philadelphia. The red pinstripes, the iconic P on their hats, the massive electronic bell in the outfield that rings whenever the home team hits a home run, the merciless boos which rain down from the stands when an opposing player does pretty much anything, and of course, the fanatic. A team in the midst of yet another improbable World Series run. But why are they called the Phillies? You might be thinking to yourself, are you serious? Why does this question need a whole 7-minute video? Phillies, Philadelphia, they got the name from the name of the city. Simple. It's like the Bodie McBoatface of professional baseball teams. The name just makes sense. And you're not totally wrong. Phillies does have to do with Philadelphia. But the story behind it is a little more interesting than you might expect. This is the story of the unbridled creativity and intricate vision behind the naming of the Philadelphia Phillies. First off, the Phillies are an old baseball team. Not as old as the Chicago Cubs or the Cincinnati Reds, but they're actually one of the first MLB franchises. They date back to 1883, to a time when baseball teams didn't actually have names. You see, official team names and incorporation wouldn't come until the 1900s. Team nicknames in the early days were just catchy monikers that newspapers used to refer to teams more easily, and they were unofficial. Some teams had several of them. Anyway, back to the Phillies. They are an old team, but they weren't Philly's first baseball team. That would be the Athletics, which started in 1860, and in 1871 helped establish the first pro baseball league, the National Association of Professional Baseball Players, which would go on to become the National League. However, the Athletics were booted from the National League in 1876 for refusing to go on a West Coast road trip due to exorbitant travel costs, and the city of brotherly love was left without a ball club. A few years later, in 1881, sporting goods tycoon Al Reach tries to get back in, proposing a new team. But the National League has already been burned by Philly once. Nonetheless, Philadelphia is a huge media market, and the financial opportunity is hard to pass up. Philly, though, doesn't have a suitable stadium, and they don't have players either. So the NL says, okay, you can join this new thing called the League Alliance, which is like a provisional feeder league. The League Alliance teams pay a yearly fee, and they can play the NL teams in exhibition games, and also have their players protected from being poached away. Reach agrees, and the Philadelphia Ball Club is born. Before the Phillies can become the Phillies, they need Phillies. So Reach puts out ads in local newspapers looking for ball players. He also signs a lease for a ballpark, the Horse Market, and I'm not kidding, this was the real name, the former home field of the Philadelphia Centennials. After some renovations, the team starts play. The inaugural 1882 season does not go great for the Philadelphia Ball Club. They have a losing record against the NL teams, and in 33 games against the only other Alliance team, the Mets, they get crushed. However, they do have a winning record against so-called outside teams, which they probably should since these teams are debatably pro teams at all. Somehow, this is enough to convince the NL to accept the squad starting the next year, 1883. Realizing Philadelphia Ball Club is a bit clunky, Reach renames the team to Philadelphia Ball Club Limited. That was a bad joke. The decreasingly concise team name does, though, inspire newspapers to come up with nicknames in order to save ink. Sports writers try a few things. Quakers, Philadelphias. They even experiment with athletics again, even though these are not the same athletics as before. That was pretty confusing to everyone, so eventually they shortened Philadelphias into Phillies. And that somehow sticks. It just makes sense, you know? Little does anyone know at the time, this will become the longest standing, same named, same city team in American professional sports, which is way too much of a mouthful to be an impressive claim. So yes, the name Phillies was created by some anonymous newspaper writer who realized that Philadelphians were too stupid to remember anything else. Management in 1890 makes things official, adopting it as the team name. And from that moment on, Phillies will be the enduring, unquestioned name of the Philadelphia baseball team until the end of time. Well, until 1940, when the team owners try to change the name to the Blue Jays. But we don't talk about that. Go Phils!